Welcome to video 4 in our hiring series. This video is who to hire. Right? The first 3 videos in the series were about mistakes when hiring, mindset behind hiring. The last one was when to hire. This video is about who you should hire. There's a large difference between your very first hire that you make and the 10th, 11th, 12th hire that you make. We're going to dive deep into how to build your org chart and the temperaments and personalities of people that you're wanting to hire. So building your org chart. When a new alliance partner starts with us, we always start by having them draw their current org chart. An org chart is a diagram of every person in your company and who reports to who. This also lets you see where new hires are going to fit in. If I'm going to hire someone here, there, you can really diagram it out before making those decisions. Let me show you how to do this on a whiteboard. Okay, so let's do your org chart. Now, no matter what size company you are, I don't care if you're a one-man show, we are going to draw an org chart. This is you. This is where you start. You're going to be the general manager of your company. If you're a one-man show, you're done with the first portion of your org chart. Let's say you've got a project manager that's working for you, and you have a part-time office staff working for you. Right? So that would be you, your part-time office staff, and your project manager on your org chart. We'll start with a company like that. If this is all you're at today, this is what you draw. The second part of the process is drawing where will you be in 1 year? Who's coming next? I want to hire one more project manager. I want to go full-time on this office staff. And hopefully by the end of the year, I have my third project manager. So I draw this out. Blue is where we're at today. Red is what's going to change. I'm going to do this in March. I'm going to do this one second in April. And then I'm going to do this one third in September. That's it. Very simple. Who is here today? Who is going to be here in 1 year from today? Now, we've got this charted out from a one-man all the way up to doing multi-city that we'd like to sit down with you during our trainings to go over. But you take this and you look at where you're at today, and this is how we start blueprinting our 12-month path. In our quarterly trainings, which we'd love for you to attend, we show you our org chart from 1A all the way through 4F. We divide up company growth into 4 distinct categories. We take you and your company's org chart and we use your blueprint and we set goals of growth. We really can look at, not have to worry about getting down to my 15th hire. You just got to look at what I can do in the next 12 months. And on this org chart, here are my 2, maybe 3 hires in the next 12 months. And this is all I have to focus on right now. Now that you have an org chart, let's look at the different types of hires. So a general contracting company mostly is filled with project managers. The reason for this is we're not going to focus on a ton of estimators or sales guys or outside, because our systematic way of running jobs has a project manager and a head of renovations both helping with estimates. We'll get into that later as to who does what, but for us, general contractors' biggest hires are going to be project managers. For a single trade contractor like a roofer or a painter or HVAC, they can be set up with estimators, salespeople, and a little bit of a different setup as it's a product that you're selling that's one-off, and there's not an intimate knowledge with the client that you need to grasp like a project manager does when they're doing estimates. This can get more complicated with who is responsible for what, but it still works pretty well. Every company will eventually have office support staff too. Having an org chart allows you to visually see who you need to be looking for next, right? It also helps you ensure that you do not overload your PMs and how much work you need and when you need to be looking for the hire and for what position. So if you are a one-man show and are looking for your first hire, this is an extremely unique position. The first hire that you bring into your company often is going to affect the growth and long term of the company. So your first hire, what are you looking for? A strong work ethic, strong moral compass, highly responsible and self-motivated. You are most likely either an entrepreneurial visionary yourself, whose goal is to strategically grow your company, Or you're an entrepreneurial grinder who is out there working away. Then one day you look up and you have more work than you know what to do with, and you like to cash in on all that hard work that you've been doing and want to retire. You're probably one of those two things if you are running your own construction company or contracting company. Most likely you have a little bit of both in you, but which way do you lean? You need to hire the opposite of you, right? The visionary person needs more cautious implementer of your plan, right? You are probably more of a risk taker. Let's go out and get it done. And you get bored by the end of the project and you want to move on to the next one. You are looking for someone who's more cautious, more of an implementer. You can sell clients, you can build a team, but you get bored easily and need a number two that will execute the plan and make sure everything is working properly. Or you're the grinder. You need a visionary. This gets tricky as a visionary is usually in the driver's seat of a company, but the grinder needs to fully trust their number two. Trust them enough to put them as the leader of the company. Identifying key areas that are not your strong suit is super important. Here's some key areas that if you do not possess, you need to find them inside of the number two that you hire to bring into your company. First, logistics. Who's going to coordinate and organize complex systems? Who's going to do your training processes, company procedures? Who's going to follow all the rules that you guys put in place? Secondly, financials. Who can break down the numbers? Who's going to run spreadsheets? Who's going to look at your profit and loss statements? Who's going to make sure you're actually making money, right? Sales. Who will present the company to new clients? Who can convey to potential clients your product and why you're better than the other guys? Also, employee management. As you grow, leadership takes a servant's heart. To manage employees well, the person in charge will need to be able to counsel, emotionally manage, and hold accountable the employees. It's a very hard line to draw as a leader is, I'm here for you, I want the best for you. Also, you're not doing good enough, and we need to talk about why you're not doing it good enough. This is one of the things that I think our leadership at our company does very well, is that when I come to you with the criticism, with our general manager comes to one of the employees and says, hey, this is not working. It's not because I want you to do better for me. It's because I know you can do better, and I want you to do better in this job so you can make more money in advance. That's the importance of leadership, is that you are a cheerleader and a coach, and also don't let your employees get away with stuff because they're harming themselves in the long run. So both of you and your number two can have all of these, but these skills need to be covered at least by one of you, right? If you and your number two don't have the financial backing, you need to sit down and figure out who is going to figure this out. Do we need to hire someone to just help us look at our numbers? How are we going to be able to ensure that we are watching our finances? Sales. We're not sales guys. We just like to do we like to install roofs and manage crews. You need to have someone who's in charge of sales for the company. It's either you or your number two. Which one of you are taking the lead on that? So your first hire is not guaranteed to run the company with you, but it is most likely they're going to be at the top of your company as you grow. So if you don't see this potential in them, they may just stay as a project manager or an assistant or whatever position you brought them in, and you will eventually raise up another hire in the future for company management, but it gets very difficult and there's often a lot of drama when you take someone and put them above your first hire. So the first hire is so important to find someone who suits who you are. Pay for your first hire was also going to be difficult. We're going to cover compensation in our next video of how you make offers to people, how you build a compensation package, how you pay. But your first hire is often going to want or need some ownership share, especially if you can't pay them what they need to help build your company, right? Most guys aren't going to come in, help you build your company from the ground up, make it a multi-million-dollar organization, and be getting paid $45,000 a year, and that's it. So a lot of times you want to set up some sort of a profit share or ownership share that they can vest over the first 5-7 years, to where if we hit these markers, you're going to get X amount of the company. If you don't, if you go away, if you quit, if I have to replace you, you don't vest and you don't get that ownership. It's a good way to have a carrot for them to go after and start looking at and chasing after and really caring about growing this because it's theirs, but it's also mitigating your risk for not losing a piece of your company to someone that you thought was one thing and they were something else, and they run off and go do something else with a part of your company. So after your first hire, what are you looking for changes, right? After you make that first hire, I've got him. This is my number 2. He's project managing for me, but I'm kind of the lead on this, but he's helping with this, and I'm going to train him up. He's going to grow this company with me. Let's talk about the next hires after that. The project managers, the office staff, the estimators. What is an ideal candidate for a project manager? 100 times out of 100, I am going to hire a minimal experience person who has intangible skills we are looking for over someone with 20 years of experience in construction. I mentioned this in our first video. It's not necessarily a bad thing to bring in a project manager who has a long career in construction, but I very, very, very weary of these hires. This is something that I'm not going to say we never do, but it is something that is very difficult to do. The reason we like someone with minimal experience is that they have no bad habits, right? They are moldable. They haven't done something a certain way for 15 years, and now I'm trying to teach them how to do it a different way. Also, they should get a lower salary, right? They don't have the experience to warrant a higher salary like someone who's been doing this for 20 years, who's looking for 6 figures. The negatives of a hire like this, the amount of time it takes to train them. It could take you 6 months before you see a return on your investment. Are you willing to invest that in the long term of your company? Also, another negative, that hire might realize that this career or job position isn't for them. That is a true, real flight risk. Intangibles that we're looking for in this hire. We want them in line with our core values. Our core values that we put people first. We do that through remarkable communication, leaderships in all aspects of the job, and advocating for our clients. So what does that mean? If I'm putting people first, how do I find someone who is good at communication? How do I find someone that's an advocate? How do they advocate for others and put others first? How do they look into that? So those type of qualities is what we're looking for in an interview and in a potential candidate. Also, other qualities that are included in that. Gumption. It's my favorite word. It's the most important word when you're hiring a project manager. Do they have gumption? Gumption to me is I see something that needs to get done and I pick that ball up and I fix it, right? I'd say, hey, get us a list of 5 flooring companies in the area, and they come back with a list of 10. Say, hey, I found a couple extra. I did this. I went ahead and called the 3 of these companies. 2 of them are out of business. The other 5, I checked them out. They're pretty sizable. They go above and beyond when you ask them to do something. That is gumption. When you have a new hire that comes in, you say, hey, get me a list of 5, and 2 days later they get 2 of them, and they say, this is all I could find. That's not what you want. That's not someone, because they need micromanagement, and you don't have time or ability to micromanage them. Another important thing that we look for in every single hire is that they're inquisitive, right? That's a weird one, but inquisitive is very similar to gumption in terms of they are asking questions. They're thinking through the process of what's going to be an issue in the future. That is so important in a project manager. If they're inquisitive about the job position, they come in for an interview and they sit down and want to know more. Hey, how did the last guy who sat in my chair fail? What do I have to do to be a success in your eyes? If they're inquisitive about the job, they're looking through it. They are processing through what's going to happen in the future. And in a project manager in your company, that is a key factor in them being successful. So if they're doing that in everyday conversation and in conversation about hiring them and any sort of pre-hire conversation that you have with them, zone in on that. We're also looking for someone who's humble and kind. Humility and kindness. This doesn't mean that they're quiet. This doesn't mean that they don't tell you and carry confidence. You can be humble and have confidence. That's okay. There's a big difference of being humble and lacking confidence, right? You can be humble but have confidence. You could be kind. In an interview, they're looking to tell you about themselves, but how are they doing that? How are they discussing themselves? And how is their mindset when they're talking about others? This goes into self-awareness. Huge factor that we're always looking for. Self-awareness. Can they look inside and say, hey, these are some issues that I have. This is what I struggle with. This is how I fix that. This is my guardrails I put in place so I don't so when that pops up, I have a checks and balances in my life. Are they self-aware enough to realize that about themselves? Organization. If they are organized, this is another huge intangible. You can't teach, or you can teach ways to organize, but it's always going to be a struggle. And as a project manager or an employee of a contracting company, being organized is almost the most important thing I would say in that job position. Is I'm organized. I like to have everything in line. Now, someone who's not organized can learn these systems, but the job is twice as hard for them than someone who's naturally organized. It's always going to be a struggle. It's always going to be teaching and conflict about how disorganized they are, and they forgot to email that client, and they forgot to do that. So organization is a huge one. And the last intangible that we're always looking for is detail-oriented. Along with organization, being detail-oriented. How do they look at a job? How do they assess what needs to be done? Being able to catch details is where you make or lose money in our industries, right? Being able to know that, oh, I forgot to quote that. We just got to cover it because I told them we'd do it, but I didn't put it on the quote. That might be a $5,000, $10,000 error that person made for you. So being detail-oriented is a must-have in our hires. Hiring other positions in your company is very similar to a project manager position that I just laid out. Only difference is the skill set or personality type that you're looking for, right? The intangibles are the same. I want detailed. I want humble. I want someone who's got gumption in any position in the company. All of those intangibles I want. But now we're looking for someone who's going to fit their job in a different way. So let's say we're looking for a project manager. Let's start with, what is that job actually going to be? Will they be answering phones? Are they keeping our books? Are they using spreadsheets? Are they helping with social media? We have pre-built job descriptions and job roles for our alliance partners. You have to take the job role and decide what key features that this personality has to have to do these jobs, right? If they're answering phones, they can't be monotone, boring, and slow. It's the first person that's talking to your client. They need to be peppy and upbeat. We will love to share our job roles that we've built out as templates for you. We give those to our alliance partners, but we use these job roles. You take them, you make them into your own, and then you start building who you're looking for by looking at the job role you're filling. We have project managers that work with investors and fix and flips. We have project managers that work on high-end residential, and those are two different personality traits. So we look at the job description of what they're going to be doing before we make the hire to fill that specific need. When you're making these hires, one key thing to do is to test the person before making the hire. We're going to get into this in the next video of how to hire someone. But if you're trying to have them fill a job role, test them in that job role. If you're hiring them for the front office manager, have them take a typing test. We hired someone once who was going to be our office manager, which is heavy computer work. She came in, she was great, sweet, kind, gets here, first day, sits down at the desk and is typing like this. And day one, 5 minutes into her working here, we knew we were going to have to let her go. All we had to do was a simple typing test. Now, when we're hiring for an office manager, they sit down at a computer. It feels a little awkward. We say, hey, do you mind doing a words per minute test for us? We just want to make sure that your typing skills are up to par. Very easy test to do. It takes 2 minutes. It allowed us to hire the right person. If we would have done that ahead of time, we would have never hired that person and start our whole hunt over again. So an office manager needs to be the kind enough person to be your front facing of your company, right? They're talking to your clients. They're the first person that your clients encounter when they come in your door. They call the office. First time they ever hear from your company is that person answering the phone. Do they sound welcoming? How do they act towards those clients? They're also interacting with every employee in the office usually. So when you're looking for an office manager, it is someone who can be kind and sweet, but also a bulldog on the back end if things aren't being followed. It's not someone who's mean. It's not someone who doesn't care. They've got to want to care about how people are treated. And it's very hard to find in any employee someone who's going to view your company like it's their own, right? That's what your goal is that they want to view your company company like it's their company. They want to take care of the clients like it's their clients. The employees that you hire that take care of your company like it's their own are the ones that are going to be there for long term. They're going to be the core of your company. So that is about it on who you're looking to hire. Our next video on this series is a deeper dive into how to hire. So this video is going to walk you through new employee hunts, right? How to find the right employees, the hiring process. All right, I'm going to start doing interviews, step-by-step interviews. And then we finish the next video with pay scales and job offers, how to pay people, how to pay employees. Please go to our website, www.proservealliance.com, and sign up for our webinar, as well as any sort of other events that we've got. The webinar's at the end of this series, I think a week or two away. We also will love you to sign up for the newsletter. That's somewhere that every time we release these videos, we'll send it out to you. We're not going to blast you too much on that. We're going to cover all of these topics of the series, as well as answer the questions and dialogue with other contractors at that webinar. We'd love to see you there. As always, feel free to email me with any specific questions, or if there's anything else I can do for you, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching.